Welcome to another episode of the Whoop and the Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Curry, alongside my co-host, Dr. John Devereaux.
And this is our first episode of the new year. And it's actually our first episode back for a while. We kind of took a little break.
Yeah.
But it's good to get back. And I'm going to jump right in with our quote of the week. So the quote of this week is very simple. It's a New Year quote. And it just says simply, the best is yet to come. And I think that sums up, just based off the conversations that you and I have had off mic, what both of us have in mind for this new year. But where I really want to start is kind of recapping some of the goals and stuff that we set last year, for our personal goals and then also for our business, and see if we made any headway in that, and then really relate that to business planning it all together. So do you remember what your goals were for last year?
I don't. Well, you know what? I think I do, but I'm not quite sure. I know for a fact I said I wanted to kind of, go into business for myself and, start the wholesaling and, I don't remember what I said specifically, but I think I tackled most of it though.
So I listened to our episode that we recorded for our last year, for our New Year's episode. And your goal was to do what you did, but just 10 times bigger.
Okay.
So do what you did in 2020, but just do it 10 times bigger. So how did you measure up with the goal that you set for yourself?
Oh, man, I did it big. I mean, I look at what I did in 2020. I think in 2020, dude, I was just getting started. I felt like I had a plan, but I didn't know how quite to execute until I would say probably towards the end of the year is when I really started executing. But dude, 2021, dude, I just took off. I didn't look back. I think I was a lot more focused, and then I surrounded myself. Like I slimmed my circle down a lot, and I just started, networking with people that was going to get me to my goal, and dude, I honestly would say 2021 was probably the best year I ever had in my whole entire life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, financially, dude, I reached milestones that I never thought I could reach. Right? I put myself in positions that I thought that, for the life of me, dude, I thought that it would have took me, 2-3 years to get in those positions. Right? I took risk. I think that was the biggest thing, man. I took a lot of risk in 2021. I had a lot of failures and I had a lot of successes. Well, success, I don't even know if that's a word, but I succeeded a lot. I succeeded a lot, man. But I learned a lot too, man. 2021, it's hard to sum up, man. It was like a bittersweet moment. It's like I didn't accomplish every goal, but I accomplished enough where I felt satisfied.
And that's a good place to be. So for me, the goal that I talked about last year on the podcast that I said I wanted to do was to start journaling and start documenting, my experiences and things like that. And bro, I don't think I picked up a pencil the entire year. Like that, I completely failed in that goal.
But can I stop you there? You probably didn't physically journal, but you did journal a lot of what you did on a daily basis on social media. So you did do that a lot.
I'll take that. I will take that because even like leading up to the conversation that we're getting ready to have, I was like, dang, man, I really didn't attack my goal at all, last year. But I will say I did make a more concerted effort to start video documenting, a lot of the stuff that I do. And then of course, you get the what's that thing on Instagram that they do? Like they showed you like what you did that same day last year. What's it? I forgot what it's called.
Like the recap or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So that is a good way to look at it. But in terms of like what I actually set out to do, I didn't come nowhere near that goal. Now in my business though, business really took off last year. The separate business, doing like the house flip. So I am proud of everything that I've did with that and that I'm still doing. And it was just a learning experience. So similar to like what you were saying, like 2021 is kind of bittersweet. It had a lot of low points, but it has some really high points. And there were so many lessons I want to say that I learned in 2021 that will carry me into 2022 and probably for the rest of my life, you know?
Mm.
So, and that's actually a question I want to throw out to you. You know, is there something from 2021 that you learned that's really going to set the foundation for this year for you?
Oh, dude, great question. Uh, I would say time management.
Mm,
I don't think. I think last year I was all about just like execute. I don't think I set aside time management, but I think towards the end I started to prioritize like where am I spending most of my time because last year it was a lot of trial and error, right? Trial by fire, and that's pretty much what that was. And I figured out where most of my time was getting ate up at, and how I can kind of how I can kind of get a lot of that time back and still get the same amount of effort out there. So for
hmm
this year, a lot of what I learned last year is going to carry on to this year on how to be a lot more organized, how to be better at my time management skills, and I think that's going to help my business out tremendously.
And as an entrepreneur, time is your most valuable asset,
Yeah,
And if you don't know how to manage it effectively, a lot of it does get wasted. And when you're wasting time, you're wasting money,
wasting money. Yeah.
and nobody wants to be in that boat. So, if I might ask, like, what are some of the things that you learned in terms of like the time management? Is it like a specific strategy that you implemented that helped you to be a little bit more effective, or was it just being more aware of where
Just
that time
more,
is going?
yeah, just more aware of where my time is getting spent. I think as an entrepreneur, the biggest struggle that we have is trying to do everything, right? And we end up
hmm
stretching ourselves thin, right? We spend so much time on this one area or spend this much time in doing this when in actuality we can kind of like delegate a lot of that stuff out. I found myself trying to do everything in my business. And it was eating up so much time. And I couldn't really, like I told you before, you can't work on your business because you're working in your business. And that's
hmm
because I didn't have that much time management. But now, going into the year, man, dude, all of that's going to get pushed out so I can work on the key parts of my business. So,
Yeah, and what I love about the conversations that we have is it seems like every episode, and even when we're talking off mic, it's always a constant. How can I make this better? Whether it's the business, we talk about our personal goals. Like you're constantly in this mode of evaluating what you're doing and seeing where are the inefficiencies. Where are the
yeah,
bottlenecks? What can I do to make this whole overall process better and more
yeah.
efficient in the long run?
Yeah, you know what? And here's the thing, right? In the new year, everybody always talk about, new year, new me, right? I
hmm
mean, you hear it all across social media. But my question for you is it new year, better you, right? So going into this year, what can you say that you're going to try to do a lot better than you did last year?
Time, it would probably come back to that time management because
Okay.
the new year, new me, I don't subscribe to
Okay.
because
Okay.
not and this is gonna sound so messed up, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
Okay.
I like the person I was in 2021.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
I got a lot of stuff done, and you know, that person that I am because I think I still carry that with me. That's the same person that's kind of going into 2022. It's
Mm,
just a little bit more knowledgeable. So maybe
yeah.
new me, new knowledge, or new year, new
There you go.
information. And I think with that information that
Hey,
I'm
drop that
learning,
again. Drop that again, dude. That was drop that again.
yeah. So new year, new information, and that information influences how I move. If
Mm,
there's something I come across that says, hey, by doing this differently in your business, it's going to save you an extra 30 minutes a day, then I'm going to do it. And there's this a sports person I listen to all the time, Max Kellerman. He says when the new information comes in or new data, my opinion switches. So I think that's what we
mm.
have to be. You can't be stuck in your ways and think like, hey, there's only one way to do this. New information is constantly out there, and that's something that I learned this year. Um, just all of this stuff with this flip, and you and I
Yeah.
talk all the time. So, like, the struggles that I've
Oh
gone
yeah.
through and
Oh
dealing
yeah.
with certain people, and it's like those lessons that I learned, they're cemented in me. So I'm still the same person. It's just new experiences.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So for the challenges that you faced last year, right, and in the unforeseen challenges that you're going to face this year, what's some advice that you can kind of give people that was in your shoes last year, your same shoes?
Man, you just got to see it through. When you set a
Yeah.
goal for yourself, there's always going to be obstacles that are going to come up. And there's going to be so many things that are going to try to deter you from that goal. But you got to remain steadfast and diligent and, just keep your eyes on what that finished prize is. And that's what kind of carried me. Like with this project, and what's so tough about it is, this has been almost a 8 or 9 month project right now. It shouldn't have taken that long, but you there was one point, I think, throughout this the whole time, there was only been one point where I was just like, I just want to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
And I posted about it on Instagram, and of course you got your followers who be like, yo, you got this, and you
Yeah.
kind of need that at times. But that was the only time that I was like really down. But
Mhm.
it's those past experiences that helped me to be able to be prepared for that experience. Going through that doctoral journey, that was a 3 or 4 year process. So if I know that I can see that to the end, I know that I can see this project to the end. And knowing that I'm going to see this project to the end, whatever's coming up in 2022, I'm going to be able to see that to the end as well. So you just got to have that confidence in yourself and your abilities.
Absolutely. And what I've learned though, man, is like with business or just like life in general, like anytime you're hit with like an obstacle or struggle or like even a failure, like some people really just do throw in the towel. Like that's it. Like they throw in the towel, they don't look back. But for you, those same obstacles are probably going to come up this year, right? But because you didn't give up and you've seen it all the way through, those same obstacles aren't going to be obstacles to you. They're just going to be short roadblocks, right? And you're just going to go
They
straight
become
through it. And
expectations.
there we go.
Because
It becomes expectations.
with this project, it's completely new. Everything that came
Yeah.
out,
Was an
everything that
obstacle.
came up was an obstacle because I've never
Yeah.
been through it before. And that's why they say like experience is the best teacher. Because
Yeah.
now that I've gone through this whole process, I know certain costs, I know how much time is going to be involved in certain things. When I start this next project, because it's going to be step and repeat, the whole
Yeah.
process is just you start the flip or whatever it is, with your business. It's going to be the same thing over and over, but now you're just better equipped to handle it. And that's what that experience teaches you. It teaches you how to handle those things that come up. So yeah, when it comes up next time, you're like, okay, well, this is how I did it last time. And that's why
Yeah.
experience and mentorship are some of the most important things that we can have as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and you know what you just said that was kind of dope was you said this is how I did it last time. But when me and you talked before, you always say if I was ever faced with this again, I actually do it this way instead.
Yeah.
Because as an entrepreneur, do you always find like a better way to do things, right? Or do you just keep doing what you know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the situation dictates that,
Okay.
because it could be a project where I know how to do it, even though there might be a better process. The time that it'll take for me to learn that better process outweighs the time it'll take me to just do it myself the old way. Now,
Yeah.
like with athletes, they have the off season when they work on certain parts of their game. And if I'm between projects or between certain things within my business, that's when I can really focus on honing in like the new skills. I'm not going to try to adapt my skills in this, in the game, like per
Yeah,
se.
yeah,
So, and that's something I do with teaching. After the semester wraps up, I see like, okay, what things went good, what things went bad, what things do I need to refocus, what examples weren't hitting right with the students so that I can implement new examples. So that's during the end of the semester or like the breaks. That's when I really focus on honing in on those skills. But during the semester, I'm not trying to switch up my lesson plans, the
Yeah.
day before or the week of,
exactly.
because that's more tedious. So But that's my process. Some people are really quick with learning on the fly. So if they find that new technique, then they might implement that right away because they're able to do that. And it all comes back to like self-awareness. You got to know yourself. And throughout this process, I've been learning myself, and I know like that's something I'm able to do. But like for somebody like you might be really quick on with it, and like that
Yeah.
could work for you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I want to throw it over to you because
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you've had some things that you kind of switched it up too, and like moving away from like some of the traditional routes that you do with like real estate and like honing in on certain things. So, what was it that caused you to kind of make those changes and decide to go a certain route? If you want to talk about it, that is.
What? Okay. Elaborate a little bit.
So you decided, you normally do like with the wholesaling.
Yeah.
You're doing properties in Arizona, you're doing properties
Yeah.
in California, you all over.
Yeah.
But now you decided to kind of focus in on one specific area. Why was that the case? Because and that goes back to what we were just talking about.
I think it really came down to not spreading myself too thin, right? I mean, I could do deals in different states, but for me, it was more so about just mastering one skill. Like, I think there's an old saying to say, somewhere along the lines of master of many is a master of none or something like that, right? So I kind of live by that, right? So I want to master the state that I'm in, right? The moment that I feel as though that I exhausted this whole entire area, which would kind of be difficult, is when I'll slowly start to, scale out, right? But you do that strategically. So for me, I felt like I was just all over the place. I didn't have a key area that I wanted to, focus in. So I was like, okay, I took a step back and say, well, I will lose out on a lot of money not focusing in those areas, but I can also gain a lot more money and a lot more skills if I just kind of just focus on the area in one key area and just execute from there. So my
So
key area now, go ahead.
let me because you hit on something really good. How do you determine to or how do you make the decision to kind of scale back and focus on one area when what you have been doing has been so successful already? Because I've seen some of those checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You're right. Right.
so how do you say, you know what? Even though I'm making money, making really good money, doing what I'm doing, it's more important for me to now just focus. Like, how do you get to that spot?
I think as a business owner, you're always thinking about ways to improve. You're always thinking about ways to scale. Sometimes when you have to scale, it's going to require a sacrifice. So for me, the sacrifice was, well, maybe I might have to lose out on some money short term, but in the long run, I can potentially make a lot more if I focus in this area. So it was more so a sacrifice type of thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. A lot of times in business, as entrepreneurs, we can be very short-sighted. You see that money that's
Yeah.
in front of you, but it might not be sustainable over time.
Yeah.
And the ones that are going to last are the ones who have that long-term vision and are planning for 10 years from now, not 10 minutes, 10 months from now. You got to have
Yeah.
that.
You touched on something great, right? So I put on my post on Instagram. It was like the moment I started my business, I thought 50 years into the future, right? And I thought as a already established business. So every move that I make, every decision that I make in my business is that of in a position of, well, how is my business going to operate 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And I think that's the only way you're going to stay ahead of the game is you're always thinking ahead. You're always trying to minimize as much risk as you can, right? Because if you don't, you're going to be exposed, bro. And,
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of that money that you make right now is going to probably go away in the next 3-4 years because you didn't plan ahead. So, yeah.
So with that, going into this new year, today is January 5th when we're recording.
Yeah.
Do you have like some personal goals or business goals for yourself for this year?
Yeah.
And you can't say you want to do the same thing just 10 times better. Like
No.
you did last year.
No. I would say, man, dude, for this year, it would truly probably be to possibly hire someone on to take on some of the workload, right? To train someone under me. Also, man, I look at things. I watch a lot of Grant Cardone, right? And he says something about having a target, right? And then working backwards from that target. So if your target is, I want to do 300-400K in a year, you break that down and you work backwards and then you execute from there. So, if it's, I don't know the numbers right now, but let's just say 300 a year, you're looking at what? Let's say 20,000 for the month or whatever. You try to ask yourself, what can I do now that's going to get me there? And you just work it backwards from there.
And I know you're big on that. Though you talked about that in a previous episode when you were
Yeah.
talking about hitting a certain goal, and you said, okay, I find that goal, and then I break it down and say like, okay, I got 4 quarters to do this.
Yeah.
So how much do I need to make in each quarter, and then from there you could say weekly or monthly how much you need to get. So that's a really good tips to reverse engineer your goals. And I think a lot of people do that as well with I see somebody post somebody posted that they want to do for 2022 they want to do 2,022 miles. Yeah.
Like just running or
Running, yeah.
Okay.
But she's a runner. So I'm like, okay, because that's why I was like, okay, well, if you're doing that many miles, that comes out to like 35 miles a week.
Yeah.
And for like somebody like me, I'm like, man, how you gonna do that?
Just gonna keep running all day? Like what's going on?
But that's something that they're doing. And then you kind of plan, okay, if I know I have to hit this target, I have to make this amount of miles per week. So if I miss Wednesday, I got to double up on Thursday. If I miss Friday, and so forth. So I think that's a really good strategy to do the reverse engineering.
But you hit a great point, right? Where you said like if I miss this day, I got to double up. I think what most people have to understand is you got to hold yourself accountable, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, dude, we will give up on ourselves before anybody in the world. Like we'll make the most excuses just to say, you know what? Well, I had to go to the doctor today, or today was a long work day, so I couldn't do it. Whatever the case is, like we tend to just throw in the towel, man. You got to keep holding yourself accountable.
Yeah, you said something on last year's New Year podcast where you said, like, for somebody who has like a goal to lose weight, you was like, if I miss one day, that's all right, but if I miss a week or a month, now that's a problem.
Yeah.
So this life happens, so we know that there's going to be things that come up, but you can't let that one day turn into that 1 week, which then turns into that 1 month, and then now your goal's out the window.
Absolutely.
So I guess like for myself, if I'm thinking about like a goal for this year, I do have like some for like personal. Like I definitely want to keep up with the fitness. That's something I've been really heavy into this year or last year. So I want to stick with that. But then like in terms of like my business, I do want to expand. 2021 taught me a lot within that business of like the real estate and flipping properties. So I want to try to do at least 2 or 3 this year, and that's a very big deal, or a big goal, I should say. But I think that's where it is. So I'm gonna say it on the podcast. So next year when we record, I can hold myself a little bit more accountable.
I'm doing 350K this year.
Let's go.
I'm calling it, man. Hey, we're gonna play this back. This time next year?
This time next year.
I'll reach the goal for sure.
Yeah. So, and for our listeners, viewers, please let us know what type of goals you guys have set in place for this year. Are there certain personal goals or certain business goals? Because as entrepreneurs, typically your personal goals leak into your business goals. So, let us know. We'd love to hear back from you guys. Leave a comment, or send us messages and let us know.
All right, guys, that's been another episode of the Wolf and the Doctor podcast. Again, I'm your host, Glenn Curry, alongside my co-host, Dr. John Devereaux. Whatever you guys are listening to this on, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below.